Hello. Today I am here with...
Mike 9 from eyehategod.
Yeah. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a bit cold, but I'm doing all right.
It is stupidly freezing. And how's the tour gone for you so far?
Tour's going great. We're over here in the UK only. We're not going to Europe this time, just doing 3 weeks in the UK. And we're with Goat Horror, who are good friends of ours from New Orleans, old friends. So it's been fun. It's been great.
Yeah, that's sick. Alright, let's get into some questions. So, how exactly do you approach vocals? Do you come at them with like a rigid plan in your mind, or do you just like make them up while you're in the booth?
Well, the lyrics are written for most of the stuff. Some of the stuff's speaking in tongues, I would say. But yeah, I never really thought of a way to sing. And I mean, I started off in like the punk scene, in punk bands always when I was young. And I mean, I consider eyehategod a punk band, so it's kind of like that DIY, just like go for it type of attitude with the vocals, Like I've never said I'm gonna sound like this or that. I just picked up a microphone and started screaming, and that's how it's always been.
Yeah, that is fair enough, actually.
Yeah.
How do you guys find the creation of music after almost 30 years now? Is it simply coming to you, or is it quite difficult?
It's somewhere in between, I would say. Sometimes it takes us a long time to write records, usually. I forget how long it was, but between the self-titled album and Nomadic Behavior, it took a good bit of time, so it's not like an easy process per se, but once it starts rolling, it gets there, So it depends on inspiration, and we don't like to rush albums. We like to make sure we're putting out something that we're going to be very happy with,
So where exactly do you draw most of your inspiration from when it comes to sound?
From everywhere, from life, from reality. That's pretty much where we get all our inspiration from. Mental illness, things in life that we think about. But, we love a lot of different types of music, I listen to so many different things, and we all listen to different things. Like Jimmy's really into old country music. And, I listen to dub reggae and hip hop and blues and old jazz but I always go back to my punk rock roots,
Yeah. What would you say your top 5 bands are personally to you?
I don't really have a top 5 because I listen to so many different things, but big inspirations for me are bands like the Dead Boys, the Germs, Black Flag, Black Sabbath. The list goes on and on and on, There's just so many different genres of music and that I love.
Sick. Do you guys ever plan on releasing a 7th record, or are you just waiting to see where you end up?
No, we're working on it now. We're trying to write some stuff. We tour so much, then we get home and nobody wants to go practice because we just got off a tour, And people want to be with their families and stuff. So hopefully we'll have a little time to write, and we need Jimmy to write some riffs is what we need to do so we can base it on that and get in the studio,
Awesome, yeah. Do you find that the scene is mainly driven by the bands playing or the audience that goes to them?
I think it's a combination of both, I would say. You can't have one without the other, so it's a mutual thing, We love the fans. If it wasn't for the fans, then we wouldn't be doing what we do. Or we'd be doing it to an empty room, So the fans are everything to us, We like to meet everyone and we hang out after the show and stuff and talk to people. So yeah, but I think it's a combination of the whole scene,
Yeah, that is actually a pretty fair enough answer. What would you say that your favorite memory from the past few years of touring has been?
There's been so many. Just meeting people, really, basically, like going to different places. I love to travel. After all these years, I still love to tour. We always said when it stops being fun, we wouldn't do this anymore, but it's still fun, We still have a great time. We love to travel, and I mean, we've been to Indonesia, we've been to, Taiwan, Japan, Vietnam. We've played some crazy places, South America, so it's just great to be able to go to those places, and they know who you are, and they know your music, and it's just, so yeah.
Yeah. What is one of your favorite places that you've toured been, and for what reasons?
I don't know where a favorite place would be. There's no favorite place. I love everywhere. Just love to tour.
Yeah, that's fair enough. What is your earliest musical memory?
I had two older brothers who had tons of albums when I was a kid, so I grew up just like digging through these records from both of my brothers and finding things, like some early bands that I listened to when I was a child were like Alice Cooper, The Who, Rolling Stones, Jethro Tull, bands like that when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
That was awesome, yeah. Do you find that the relationship with your bandmates is important to not only touring and gigging, but what about the creation of music?
Oh, of course so, yeah. A band has to have chemistry, we have to, even if it's a negative chemistry, if it's not too awkward or something, you gotta have chemistry with each other, you have to be somewhat connected, to make music and to tour. Of course, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Do you like the resurgence of sludge metal within the past few years because of the internet?
Well, if you've ever read anything about I Hate God, we hate the term sludge metal. So I don't really, I get it though. It's something to label what we do and all that, but I don't really know much about I don't know anything about sludge metal. I don't know anything about it, so I can't really speak about it.
Oh, well, yeah, sorry about that. Fair enough.
No, that's fine.
But yeah.
Just giving you an honest answer,
Yeah. What is one of your favorite songs like play live, and how come?
Oh man, I don't know. We have so many songs, that we put in and out of the set, I don't really have a favorite song,
Yeah, I can see that. Do other genres of music influence you, and how so?
Of course, yeah. Like listening to reggae and other type blues or something like that, those influence me in certain ways, even in our music, because you'll find an inspiration in that music, I respect those types of music and tons of others as well, so I get inspiration from all of that.
Yeah, cool. Who do you think is an underrated band that not many people talk about but really should?
There's so many. New York Dolls, the Laughing Hyenas. That's just a couple. There's so many. There's so many punk rock bands from the 70s that put out like one 7-inch 45, and that's all they ever did. And nobody knows who they are, but it could be an excellent record, but we're lucky today to have YouTube and things that we can like dig for old music. Hopefully if someone's found it and put it up there,
Yes, that's pretty cool. Who are some of your like personal icons in music?
God, there's so many, but I'm a big fan of Nick Cave and his writing and just the way he, in performance, how great his bands usually are, and his writing, Your money's on the table up there. And there was a guy named Darby Crash who was in a band called the Germs, and he was his image was that of like a fucked up punk rocker, but his writing was really amazing. The lyrics to the one album they did, the one proper album they did, are just like super intelligent, insane lyrics, and no one thought like that would come out of this guy, But I get inspiration from a lot of poets too, like Dylan Thomas, who's Welsh, and Charles Bukowski, you know, there's Kurt Vonnegut. There's so many writers that I like as well.
Yeah, Dylan Thomas is very underrated, really.
And he was also an alcoholic, so
Kind of in line with I Hate God now.
kind of fits, you know.
Yeah. How do you approach lyric writing? Are there, like, certain themes that within the music that you write?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I just kind of write about like life, and some of it's like kind of hallucinogenic. Like it takes a little digging to figure out what it's about. Even for me, sometimes I like the way words look on paper. Like you fit words together, and I just kind of like the way they sound or look, or you know, that type of thing. But I like that some of our fans can figure out. They tell me what they think the song's about. And then sometimes I'm like, wow, you're right. That could be about that, you know? So I just kind of write what I feel, you know, and just put it on paper and scream it later. And
it's very fun to watch you screaming in people's faces.
Yeah, cool. I love doing it. I love screaming in people's faces.
How would you like to see it all a change in I Hate God's sound with like up and coming albums and things like that?
What was the question?
That's good. Oh, sorry, I just left my mind. How would you like to see a change in I Hate God's sound, even subtly through like up and coming records and music such as?
Not necessarily. You know, we're one of those bands. It's like, you know, we have a sound that we kind of created out of nowhere, and the combination of tons of influences of other music, you know. But no, I mean, we always try to mature and evolve with every record, you know. It may not be a lot of evolution, but like I think our last album, A History of Nomadic Behavior, I think that sounded different than the last one, and so on, you know. So I think it's going to sound somewhat different slightly, the next one, but it'll still sound like us, you know.
That's good, yeah. Is there a sense of community between you and other bands, especially when touring?
Of course. Of course. Yeah, almost every band we've ever toured with, we're still like really good friends with, and we've remained friends for years and years. We saw Friends last night in Nottingham, and we see them every year basically too. So, we toured with this band Chaos UK in 1994, and we've remained friends with them ever since. And they still come out to the shows and hang out with us, you know. And we're always making friends with new bands, you know. We just played with Venom Inc. the other night, and Discharge. And Discharge, who are a childhood favorite band of mine, are now like friends of mine, which is kind of mind-blowing, you know?
Do you still get starstruck meeting people such as like the band Discharge and stuff?
It's more of just like, I can't believe that I'm friends with this person type of thing, you know? You know, like, there's so many bands like Agnostic Front, the Cro-Mags, God, there's so many that we're just friends with, you know, like I'll get a text on my phone and it's like somebody from Negative Approach or something. Like a band when I was 15, like really was one of my favorite bands, you know, and now we're just like, but it's not like a starstruck thing. I don't feel like that because we're like peers of each other, you know, so it's kind of we're both doing the same thing, out screaming at people and playing heavy music.
Oh, hell yeah. What has been one of your favorite bands to tour with, like as of recent years?
Oh my God, the ones I mentioned, Negative Approach. We did a tour with Sheer Terror from New York. They were great. Paulie's great. Anthony's great in that band. They're all good people. Yeah, there's so many. You know, I can't name any favorites, but they're all great people and great bands too.
Yeah. And finally, to end this may be a very difficult question, but like any, what would you say is your favorite record that you've made, or album that you've made?
That we've made? Probably Take Is Needed for Pain, because that's the album that we kind of found what we wanted to sound like on. Our first album is just a noisy mess, you know. People love our first album, In the Name of Suffering. People love that, but it's recorded crazy, terrible. I mean, we went in the studio, we had no idea what we were doing. We could barely play our instruments. When we wrote that album, we just kind of, just went for it. But so Take Is Needed for Pain is our second album, and we kind of started learning how to write songs and learning how to be in the studio, and kind of make it sound like we wanted to sound, and we've tried to gradually get better at it,
Yeah.
So.
Just thank you so much for allowing us to interview. It's been an absolute honor.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.